I wanted to summarise my thoughts on two remaining characters from Secret of the Mimic, those being Sleepy Moon and David. Having put some thought into this, I suspect that Sleepy Moon might have one of the more interesting background stories to tell. I also suspect that David's spirit has a connection with Sleepy Moon, so I'll include him in this video. So listen in on my story on Sleepy Moon and David. While many other theorists are trying to associate the Sleepy Moon with a worker or Edwin, I suspect another animatronic is wearing this costume, and it's not M2. Deep within the lower levels of Murray's costume manor, under the stage, we can find the Sleepy Moon costume being worn by someone and walking the halls. Above this area is a theatre where many a show has been played for potential investors. Even after the floors collapsed in, you could hear the show from above. This could be our first clue. The individual in the costume isn't easy to recognise unless you adjust the lighting levels and catch a glimpse of those pants, blue with stars on them, curly shoes with bells on them, similar to a jester. From the blueprints we understand the arms are part of the costume. These pants and shoes are very similar to the moon from the Pizzaplex. The character of Sleepy Moon also walks around with a very mechanical sound. Remember when many had compared the moon from the Pizzaplex to the Endos? Moon was a very old model. The teeth are very similar to those of the Mimic found during the Ruin DLC. Both these animatronics stood out, and we suspected that creator Scott Cawthon would answer these questions from Secret of the Mimic. He, of course, did not. So let me try. The moon we were introduced to in the Pizzaplex is old, very old. This animatronic could predate William, Henry's, and even Edwin's work. There are those who have trouble thinking that anything could predate Henry's inventions, but what if Edwin's model came from that animatronic that was even older?
Sean, I found out why they closed it down. There's something below us. I've trapped it behind the carousel for now, but I don't know how long that can hold it. I've programmed the monitors to give you the code. I got to go. I'll mail you later.
Edwin seemed to have left it there, ignored it. The staff wanted it contained. So was Moon always this active, even before we had met it in the Pizzaplex? There were two other things we encounter in the basement, David's ball and a letter.
Memory error detail report. We were expecting. There were complications. Consciousness was lost for an undetermined time. Once I woke, we were all together and happy, a family. But something was different. I felt wrong somehow. Was I me? I would never sleep again. Corrupted files suspected. Please advise.
While the letter's meaning is still unclear, the line, "Was I me?" interests me. Does the letter imply split personality? We know Moon will suffer from this from the time of the Pizzaplex. And why the ball? It was previously at David's playground. How did it get down there? Well, let's talk more about David. That could help. David's birthday party had been documented across various years, and it's safe to say that David's 6th birthday was his last. On the previous 5th birthday was when David had received his playground. The playground was located outside, beside the loading dock, and was the last location we are aware David was safe. This was where David's ball would last been seen, a prized possession of David's with his name written on it. David also had a plush toy, a tiger that could have represented one of Edwin's costumes. This toy was the one collected by Arnold, the technician from Secret of the Mimic. The costume makes an appearance in the lower levels of the costume manor, although it's not the physical costume that the factory would make. This one appears and disappears at random, following Arnold around the room, possibly helping him to remember who is there. This costume is likely an apparition, therefore created by spirit. This is clearly similar to how Golden Freddy is able to appear for various people in the universe. The spirit connecting with the manifestations manifests the being in the path of those who are paying attention. Which leads me to the plush. This toy was important in one particular ending, allowing M2 to calm down and go to sleep. While Arnold's use of the data diver ultimately suppresses the M2 program, it's spirit that appears to control the machine. I suspect that the spirit within was trying to take control. Its energy or power was strongest when the story was being told, driving the spirit on to push for control. The data diver suppresses the program running, giving control back to David's spirit. The reason I suspect the spirit acted at that point rather than earlier was that the M2 only then got close enough to the plush to give the spirit a chance. Proximity in this universe is important. Charlotte can take control of Charlie only by Ella doll being inside the animatronic. Fredbear can talk clearly to the crying child as it sits in the bed close to the diner. In the story Coming Home, Susie wanted sister Samantha to get the Gretchen doll from their father's home office. Proximity is important, and when Arnold delivered the plush into the bedroom, David could get control of M2. But this theory depends on David's spirits being around. If the doll could allow control of the M2, then could the ball allow control of Sleepy Moon? We haven't encountered this before with the children of the series, although could a split influence occur because David had two favourite toys with him on his 6th birthday? If both objects are part of David, then together they are his whole soul. This could be the encapsulation role of Mexus, a machine that was needed to be large enough for RAM or hard drive space. Maybe it was needed for storage space for David's toys. Proximity is key. The F10N4 carried the spirit for decades, up to the moment Cassie came across the machine and disabled it. She disabled it to find Gregory, although had no concept that a computer program could be containing a soul being told endless string of stories by a creative program wanting her son to enjoy his existence. So one more thing. Many have theorized that M2 is being retconned into most games in the series. I would disagree. Scott does have his way of adding to existing stories with the intent to expand upon existing characters. The week before is a good example, as Ralph got his name, daughter, and his last days. Within the Ruin DLC, we see Mimic, abandoned in the basement decades ago. I suspect this is M1, an older model that was a program's last hope to remain close to the Mexus device. As for M2, Fazbear had a plan.
We'll be working on some ideas on how to neutralize this rogue endoskeleton. But in the meantime, just try to be quiet, careful, and focused on the task at hand.
I think the M2 held out on the costume manor for a while, but was ultimately captured. The animatronic became the basis of the next generation Endo, while the program made its way into the Pizzaplex era of animatronics. The Glamrocks were using the program. They needed to be taught how to act around customers. But the original profile of Edwin, I suspect it was likely in M1, that Cassie had encountered in the tunnels. And what happened after that event in Ruin? That story is yet to be told.